Hey, what's up everybody? It's Blake here with Trade Tracer. In this week's video, we are going to get you set up for the week ahead, give you some of my favorite trade setups, and let you know what you can expect from the market this week. Make sure you go ahead and click those links in the description. It's going to get you in my free Telegram group. So far, we are up 200% this past month, so if you want to catch some of those trades, make sure you go ahead and click that link. Also, give me that like and subscribe if you like this content. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. As you guys can see, I have the SPY, the S&P 500 pull up here on the monthly time frame. As always, like to start at the higher time frames and kind of zoom in on what's actually going on in the market on the daily time frames. So right now, this past month, we actually did close in what I classify an uptrend. Uptrend is pretty simple. We have a 2 monthly candles closing above that 10 SMA, and the consecutive month closing higher than the previous month high that broke that 10 SMA. Now, one thing that we are lacking is a MACD bullish crossover. That's one of the things that I'm looking to see over these next couple months if we can get. If that does happen, we will have a ton of momentum to the upside. Now, also, one thing to check out here is the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is back above that 50 level, so things are looking positive for long-term investors, okay? So that's typically what I like to look at if you're an investor, the monthly and this weekly time frame. So currently right now, once again, we are still in an uptrend. The market is holding that 10 SMA. You can see we've tested that 3 weeks in a row. It's always held that support with a MACD turning higher this past week. And you can also see we did bounce from that 50 level on the RSI and moving higher. So once again, on the weekly time frame, still in an uptrend. Things still looking positive. Finally, to the daily time frame, this is what I utilize for all of our swing trade setups. Now, one thing to note here is we have broken this very recent downtrend line. So if I was to draw a trend line from here, we did break above that downtrend line. And actually on Thursday, the July 1st, so to start the month off, we did confirm uptrend on the daily time frame. Now, the reason that this is significant is because when the uptrend is in your favor, especially on multiple time frames, what I call time frame alignment, then it really puts the odds of the trade working for you in your favor. And that's really all that trading is. It's all about managing risk and making sure that you're only taking trades when that trade is in your favor. Okay, so one thing I'm going to be looking for this week is if we can get this MACD bullish crossover. If that does happen, I think we do have a lot of room to the upside, and we will probably more than likely come and test these the recent highs, the 323, 324 level. So that's what I'm watching. You can see the RSI is back above that 50 level. Now, some of the stocks that I'm in right now, actually I'm not really in any stocks. I like to trade the ETFs with some leverage. So right now we do have SPXL calls. We also have TQQQ calls. The NASDAQ is just on a tear. The NASDAQ looks extremely strong. It has been the leader. Bonds, on the other hand, are kind of just hanging out in this chop zone, but you can see we do have some overhead resistance. And if I was to pull up the 200-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, you can see we are bumping up right against that 50-day moving average. So that's something that you need to keep a close eye on. If we start breaking above that 165.40 levels on TLT, that will go ahead and get me long bonds and likely reduce a lot of my exposure in equities. Okay, so that's one thing that we got to keep an eye on this week. As well as gold. You guys know that I like gold. I like gold long term. We're in a very big bull market on GLD. So obviously the miners, the GDX and Nugget, a bit volatile lately. So it might take some patience. You might have to sit through some pullbacks. But overall, I do think this entire sector goes higher. One of the things that's on my watch list for this week is silver. And silver looks like it wants to break out of a big downtrend. So you can see this downtrend line. You can see I have this alert set with TrendSpider. Break above this downtrend line, a 15-minute candle closing above this downtrend line would definitely pique my interest. Okay, so we got to keep a close eye on silver. So the precious metals are in play this week. And obviously you guys know I like XBI. So this is the biotech sector, has been really strong. We're still in this uptrend. This to me looks to be like a nice bull flag here. So we have this run up and then we flag, catch some support at the 10 SMA and seems to be running higher. So I'm currently long that. And also XLV. This is the healthcare. One of the things that I liked about this, we did actually confirm an uptrend on the 1st, okay, so last Thursday, and we had price strength confirmation on Friday above these candles highs with a MACD bullish crossover. So that's the reason that I got into XLV, and Cure obviously is the leveraged fund of XLV, so that's currently what I'm in. And also this week, I think it's important. We already talked about TLT. I think it's very important that we keep a close eye on the financial sector, so the banks. All right, so the banks are forming this downtrend, but they haven't really gone past this supply zone, or currently it's actually a demand zone. So if we can start to break above, some key levels on XLF, like the 2416 level, that would really pique my interest. And that if that does happen, the odds of bonds falling is very probable. So we'll take a look at that as well. So just a couple names that I'm looking at. Space, all right, Virgin Galactic. This is one of my favorite trade setups, okay? And the reason that I like this is because it's forming a very massive volume shelf, and price really hasn't moved too much off of that volume shelf. So if we zoom in here, you can see that this range right in here, this 1650, 1625 to around 15 has been a very important level of interest where price has kind of hung out but hasn't technically broke down from those levels. So it's telling me that people are accumulating at these levels for the long term. And if we look underneath the hood, you can see that we do have some bullish divergence on the MACD and also the RSI, and we are still holding this point of control, this 1583 area. Okay, so some of the levels that I would like to see it get back above are these anchored VWAPs. So this is, let me go ahead and clean this up for you. These VWAPs basically are moving average of a volume weighted average price. Okay, so you can see this is anchored from the recent lows, and this is the recent high, and it's kind of formed this pinch right where we are at last Friday. Unfortunately, price broke through that, and we are trading below that at the current moment. However, if we can get back above Thursday's high, which was 1689, so call it 17. If we can get back above 17 on Virgin Galactic, that will definitely pique my interest again, and maybe we'll take another shot at it. But one more trade that I'm looking at for a potential short is NKLA. Okay, now you guys know we did take NKLA for a nice little run. This 3-day run, we actually sold right at 75. So since our selling, it's been just trading lower. And you can see one of the things that I'm looking at here is this huge, massive volume shelf right around the 67 area, which has held as supply. Okay, so on Friday we did have a very big selling day, broke below this anchored VWAP, and you can see there's almost no volume, like relatively speaking, tons of shares were traded in this range, but this is what I would call a volume gap. So this whole range right here, if price starts to creep into that, there's really not a whole lot of support until you can get back down to these levels right around the 35 to 36, 37, 38 area. Okay, and that would nicely coincide with this recent high. So if the market does take a downturn, NKLA will definitely be looking, I'll be one of the stocks that I'm looking at to short. Okay, so we'll keep a close eye on that into the week. That's all I really have for you guys today. Remember, we do have time frame alignment on the S&P 500. We shouldn't get too excited yet because we don't have that MACD bullish crossover for, a very confident swing long. But right now, the odds are still favoring higher prices. Now, we're going to have to wait and see how futures open up tonight. But realistically, futures haven't really played too much of a role in deciding which way the market's going to run that day. So even if we're up or we're down, I'm not going to be too excited either way because we're just going to have to see how Monday's trading plays out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Hit those links in the description to hop in our free channel. And see you guys soon.